Welcome to AK Anime Explainer. Today is explanation of Soul Land 3, Legend of the Dragon King Part 223. Without any delay, start explanation. Tang Wulin infuriated old demon Loath almost to the point of insanity. In the end, he started to employ even more cold-blooded tactics. However, even after his bones were broken, Tang Wulin's expression did not change, and his body would rapidly heal as well. As for Tang Wulin's weak spot on his torso, it was protected by the Mountain Dragon King's torso bone. Unless old demon Loath could shatter Tang Wulin's body with a single attack, he would never be able to use his torture techniques on Tang Wulin's internal organs. Little bastard, you of the tortoise sign. Old demon Loath threw his spiked club onto Tang Wulin's body. He turned around and left. He had to vent his anger. If it did not work on this one, then he would have to look for another one. Tang Wulin was finally put down. The one who came to show some kindness was still old demon Blight. That fellow Loath is truly too vicious. Tang Wulin, you alright? Old demon Blight looked at Tang Wulin with concern. Tang Wulin only glared at him coldly. What other methods do you guys have? Just use them all. When you're at your wit's end, will you think it's time to let my companions go already? Old demon Blight sighed. That has nothing to do with me. This is all old demon Nightmare's doing. All I can do for you is to limit him as much as possible so that he won't actually release the poison mist. Tang Wulin made no sound. His suspicions of these old demons' actions grew by the day. No matter what, at least he was still alive and well. After being thrashed by old demon Loath, he had completely absorbed the life energy contained within the disgusting food which he ate alongside old demon Devour. The life energy was so strong that it was getting more difficult for him to prevent his extremely vigorous blood essence power from charging at the 9th level seal. Tang Wulin could also feel that if he was willing, breaking through the 9th level seal would come as naturally as water through a channel. It would not even be too painful. Now he had to divide his attention and use a large part of his energy to control the bloodline energy within himself so that it would not break through the seal of its own accord. If the old demons were simply torturing them, they should have been getting weaker and weaker. Why were they growing stronger instead? Also, although the entire torturing process was doubtlessly painful, Tang Wulin still benefited a lot from it. He could feel himself improving in certain aspects. It was not only in terms of abilities but even more to his attitude. When he saw Tang Wulin's ice-cold gaze, old demon Blight's expression suddenly darkened. Little boy, do you not know gratitude? Or maybe you think that I'm on the same side as them? Tang Wulin replied dryly, You're not. Old demon Blight said angrily, Of course not. All right, since you think that way, fine. I'll not bother with you anymore. I'll let Nightmare deal with you as he likes. After he had finished, he turned and left. With a sway of his body, he vanished. Tang Wulin scoffed. How could he not see the show put on by old demon Blight for what it was? This was clearly him acting tough but really being timid. Whatever the case, he believed that these old demons would not let him off the hook that easily. The question was, what should he do now? Just when Tang Wulin was lost in his own confusion, old demon Nightmare's voice suddenly reached his ears. Very good. Now nobody's protecting you lot. Well then, let's make merry to our heart's content. Everything around him suddenly swerved and turned. When the dizziness faded, Tang Wulin was shocked to find that he was already inside a cavern. The lighting was slightly dim. He could barely make out the things inside it. He heard a series of groans. Tang Wulin immediately saw his companions whom he had been apart from for a long time now. Xie Xie, Yu Zhengyu, Shu Lishi, Yuan and Yehui, Xu Xiaoyan, and Yi Xinglan all woke up from their stupor, each one with a different expression. Nevertheless, without exception, they had clearly experienced a certain amount of spiritual stimulation. How's everyone? Are you guys all right? When Tang Wulin saw his companions, he was flooded with emotions, and he hastily asked them questions. However, when he opened his mouth, he noticed that his voice was very hoarse. The others barely managed to recover their consciousness and their gazes were slightly dull. At this point, rumbling sounds suddenly came from within the cavern. They did not have the time to react before iron bars fell from above and separated the 7 of them. Tang Wulin was isolated with Xu Xiaoyan. Behind the iron bars beside him were Xu Lixi and Yuan and Yehui. Yi Xinglan, Yu Jingyu, and Xie Xie were on the other side. The Shrek 7 monsters had been divided into 3 groups. This was... Tang Wulin was filled with an ominous feeling. Suddenly, puffs of dense mist suddenly erupted from above their heads. It was the pink mist that they had seen before. Not good. Hold your breath. Tang Wulin almost screamed at the top of his lungs. Everyone had witnessed this pink mist before, and they all attempted to hold their breath immediately. However, they quickly noticed that their soul powers were completely sealed, and their bodies were sore and lifeless. Under such conditions, it was impossible for them to hold their breath for too long. The pink mist filled the cavern, and then something more terrifying happened. The mist was like strands of silk as it started to creep into their skin. They could prevent themselves from inhaling the mist by holding their breaths, but it was impossible to prevent it from seeping through their flesh. When they saw the mist piercing their skin and their own bodies heating up, the 7 of them started panicking. Obviously, Old Demon Nightmare had planned their separation beforehand. None of the couples had been placed together. Tang Wulin shouted angrily, "Guys, knock yourselves out, quickly." His willpower had always been very powerful. Although he felt the heat within his body making some of his body parts squirm, he still made the correct choice the first opportunity he got. He bashed his own head against the wall of the cavern without hesitation. Puh! His head crashed into the cavern's stone wall, but he was shocked to find it soft and completely elastic. Tang Wulin's body bounced back and he fell to the ground on his buttocks. Naturally, Yu Jingyu, Xu Lixi, and Xie Xie heard what Tang Wulin had said. They, too, carried out his suggestion at the first moment. However, they had exactly the same result as Tang Wulin. Their bodies rebounded, and they landed on the floor. Although they were slightly dizzy, they were still a long way off from being unconscious. What now? The 7 of them were frightened, and the color drained from their faces. The situation which they feared the most was now upon them. The pink mist grew thicker and thicker. Because of his shouting, Tang Wulin inevitably inhaled a few breaths of the mist. The potency of the mist was overwhelming. This time, Tang Wulin's Golden Dragon King bloodline could not protect him. It was the Dragon Clan's nature to be promiscuous. As the Dragon King, there was clearly no resistance toward this aspect within the Golden Dragon King's bloodline. The Dragon Clan had always held themselves in high regard. When the king visited a place, it was seen as a passing down of their own bloodline and a grace at the same time. Otherwise, there would not have been that many elemental dragons in the world. However, given the circumstances, this aspect was going to be lethal for Tang Wulin. Tang Wulin felt like his temperature was as hot as scorching coals, and his entire body had reddened as if he was burnt. He grabbed onto the iron bars with his hands and slammed his head into them. However, the growing urge within his body showed no sign of weakening. He was not able to summon his martial soul or bloodline power for help. He could not kill himself even if he wanted to. His powerful body was sufficient to protect him from any harm. The others were not faring much better than Tang Wulin. Xu Xiaoyan was already moaning softly. She was willing herself to suppress her natural instincts. Xu Lixi was also on the verge of giving in to his urges. He curled his fat body in a corner. On the other side, Yuan and Yehui's willpower was much firmer. Although her breathing was rushed, she could still restrain herself for now. Xie Xie, Yu Jingyu, and Yi Xinglan were in an even more peculiar situation. Yi Xinglan hid away in a far corner. She sat cross-legged on the ground with beads of sweat forming on her forehead as she suppressed the effects of the poison mist. For fear of violating her sanctity, Xie Xie and Yu Jingyu backed away to the farthest corner, huddling closer to each other. Even as their hearts filled with dread, their dark desires were getting increasingly uncontrollable. "Jingyu, kill me, please," said Xie Xie to Yu Jingyu with a bitter smile on his face. Yu Jingyu suddenly shouted angrily, "Why are you touching my damn thigh? If I can kill you, do you think I'll show you mercy?" Kill me if you can. I didn't touch your thigh. You're the one who's grabbing my waist, okay? Let me die. Just let me die. The more noise they made, the more pink mist they inhaled, and the more their bodies could not resist its effects. Old demon nightmare, what do you want us to do? I'll agree to anything. Just stop this poison mist. Tang Wulin shouted with a stern voice. What they saw was one thing, but what they actually faced was something else entirely. When Tang Wulin looked at Xu Xiaoyan, who could no longer restrain herself and was inching toward him, he was flustered. No matter how resolute he was, he would have no choice but to compromise under such a situation. What are you afraid of? Enjoy life, how wonderful it is to be able to do that. Look, such a beautiful young lady is coming toward you, why would you want to suppress your desires? Let loose, give free rein to your desires. The voice was not old demon nightmares. Instead, it was a female voice, a very seductive female voice. Although it was subtle, at this moment, it was like a lighted fuse. Tang Wulin's vision blurred. Xu Xiaoyan, who was inching toward him, seemed to have changed. Her appearance changed into Enea, and then Guu. Tang Wulin told himself with all his might that the person who was getting closer to him was not Guu nor Enea. However, the potency of the pink mist was too powerful. It was so potent that it not only invaded his body and aroused his instincts, it even began to invade his spiritual world. A series of illusions appeared ceaselessly within his mind. The good times he spent with Guu replayed in his mind continuously. Tang Wulin balled his hands into tight fists. He tried repeatedly to struggle out of this illusion. However, he was overwhelmed by these illusions. Finally, a wet and hot hand grabbed his shoulder. Tang Wulin instantly felt his body was about to erupt like a volcano. He turned around instinctively. His eyes were reddened. At this very moment, the pink mist disappeared from the cavern as if it was water that was being sucked by an adult whale. Shortly after, icy water gushed down like a waterfall. It drenched the seven of them completely amidst their screams. All their desires were snuffed out completely. Their muddled minds were also instantly refreshed. Tang Wulin shivered greatly. He saw that Xu Xiaoyan was already very close to him with her hand on his shoulder. His hand was already raised. If it were not for that icy water, his hand might have reached her body already. The situation in the other two compartments was almost similar. Yuan and Yehui had one foot on Xu Lishi's back. Xu Lishi was sprawled on the floor as he panted heavily. Yi Xinglan's willpower was slightly stronger, but she was no longer sitting cross-legged. Instead, she had propped up her body and was in a stance from which she was ready to pounce. The most awkward situation involved Xie Xie and Yu Jingyu. The two of them were locked in an embrace. After they were drenched in cold water, both of them regained their senses and were glaring at each other. The two of them moved their heads away at the same time and feigned vomiting. They quickly parted at the drop of a hat. Did you do anything to me? They shouted furiously at each other almost at the same time. Fortunately, the garments on their bodies were still tidy. They obviously had not proceeded beyond their embrace. Following this incident, a strong sense of fear filled all their minds. They could not imagine the consequences if the pink mist had persisted just now. What kind of situation would they have found themselves in? It would have left an indelible mark on them. It might even make them abandon their lives. Such was the severity of the incident. There was nothing like mental torture. I bet you're more obedient now, right? Came old demon Nightmare's voice, which sounded somewhat peculiar. Shortly after, a succession of strange laughing sounds pervaded the pain they felt. The walls of the cavern shook as the loud voice resonated within. Tang Wulin and the others fell into a stupor once more under the intense sound waves. Ever since they came here, they had met the old demon's blight, nightmare, devour, and loathe. The methods by which the old demons tortured them were endless. Each of them was so terrifying that they could not resist them. These old demons had completely exploited the weaknesses of their humanity. For half a year, their bodies and spirits had been mercilessly tyrannized upon by the demons' torture. When Tang Wulin woke up from his stupor, he noticed that he was still inside the cavern. There was another figure inside the cavern. The person leaned on the stone wall and wore a purple cloak. He could not make out the person's looks. He took a deep breath. Tang Wulin noticed that he could control his soul power and blood essence power once again. He instinctively flipped over and sat up. Other than the lingering dizziness in his head, everything was normal. Tang Wulin calmed his spirits down. Then, he carefully approached the person to take a look at the person. What he saw made his eyes bulge and surprised him. Under the purple hood was a beautiful face so delicate that it seemed fragile to the touch. Her skin was fair and exquisite. Her looks were not perfect, but it had an unparalleled important position in Tang Wulin's heart. When he saw her, the first thought that crossed Tang Wulin's mind was that this was impossible. However, shortly afterward, he felt his body and spirit greatly shaken. He instinctively pinched himself on the thigh. He pinched rather strongly, and it was painful. So, he was not dreaming. Everything before him was real. He instinctively reached out to pinch her cheek. The young girl grunted softly. Her long eyelashes moved and she opened her eyes slowly. Their eyes locked. Tang Wulin got excited instantly. However, her gaze seemed to be momentarily lost as if she was in a trance. Where am I? The young girl asked absent-mindedly. Tang Wulin smiled bitterly and said, "This is Demon Island." "Are you really you?" The young girl sat up straight abruptly. She seemed to have regained her senses. She said hysterically, Why are you here?" "You?" Yes, this young girl was none other than the long-lost Guu. Tang Wulin looked at her absent-mindedly. He was looking at her shocked expression. "Guu, you've given me much trouble to find you." Guu's breathing became rushed noticeably. She stood up swiftly and looked around her. She muttered, Why are you here? I was clearly in Spirit Pagoda just moments ago." "You?" Tang Wulin shook his head. "If I said I don't know, would you believe me?" Guu pressed a hand onto her fair chest. She suddenly turned around with her back facing Tang Wulin as if she was unwilling to face him. Her breathing was rushed. "Why did you leave? What is it that we can't face and overcome together? Sure, I know that the current me isn't strong enough and might not be able to protect you completely, but I will work hard. I'll work hard to become stronger. The future me will surely be able to protect you. Guu, can you not leave me again?" Tang Wulin approached her. His slightly trembling hands latched onto her arms and he slowly turned her around. You don't understand. It's not that simple." Guu's voice was slightly shaky. "How could I bear to leave you? But I can't stay by your side. This is for your safety, and for your future." Tang Wulin turned her around forcefully so that she faced him. "Even if you're worried that I won't be able to accept it, can you at least tell me what it is? Could it be that you think I might love someone else other than you in this world?" Guu said dryly, "There are so many exceptional girls who like you. You can go pick one of them." "Are you being serious?" Tang Wulin lowered his voice. Guu looked away. She did not make a sound. Tang Wulin drew a deep breath. "Just tell me. I don't care what it is, but you should at least let me know the truth of the matter. Together, we can still think of a way to overcome it in the future. Maybe I don't have the strength to protect you yet, and I agree that we can be temporarily apart for now. But, you must at least let me know the reason. At least give me some hope to hold on to. You love me, and the feelings we have for each other is real. That is enough. I believe that I'd be able to protect you in the future and be by your side. What is it that bothers you? Just tell me." Guu lowered her head. She did not make a sound. Suddenly, she pounced into Tang Wulin's embrace. She raised her head and gave him a long sensual kiss. Tang Wulin was startled by her sudden inflamed passion. However, as he felt the familiar aura and her warm lips, he melted in her hands almost instantly. Her movements were awkward. It was just like the first time they kissed each other. However, amidst that awkwardness, Tang Wulin longed for her. Their breathing became rushed and heavier. Even the temperature in the cavern seemed to be rising. Tang Wulin's heart was on fire. They tore at each other's clothes in a frenzy. It was as if the pent-up desires in the depths of their hearts burst forth at this moment. Suddenly, Tang Wulin felt a slight pain on his chest. A heartbreaking pain that was indescribable permeated his whole body. It also heightened the intensity of his desire, making him hunger for Guu even more. The pain on his chest turned into a scorching heat as if it was telling him something. He was entranced by the beautiful body before him, but Tang Wulin's gaze began to clear up. He hugged her right hand. Golden light shone suddenly and turned into sharp claws. He scratched her skull mercilessly. Tang Wulin shouted angrily, "You're not her!" Amidst the dazzling golden light, Guu's figure turned illusory. It popped like soap bubbles in a bath and vanished without a trace. Golden light shone on his golden dragon claw. Tang Wulin panted heavily. It was only now that the silver scale on his chest dimmed gradually. It was a reminder from the scale that Tang Wulin regained his senses and saw into the identity of the person in front of him. A surprised and melodious voice came, "My illusion was dug out from the depths of your heart, but you're able to break free from it. Now that's a surprise. It didn't seem like your own power. Be enamored with the secular world and your desires will be endless." "Hello there, I'm Old Demon Lust." From a dark and gloomy corner of the cavern, a curvaceous woman stepped out. She called herself an old demon, but she was not old at all. She looked to be in her 20s. Her outfit was revealing, her fair breasts were half exposed. Her shapely legs were long and slender. Her sexy demeanor sent everyone into their wildest dreams. Tang Wulin couldn't quite place her looks, but he felt that she resembled Guu very much. In truth, anyone who saw her thought they were seeing the person they loved. Cold light shot forth from Tang Wulin's eyes. Why did you torture me this way?" "You." Old Demon Lust smiled. She answered Tang Wulin's questions calmly, "Oh, no reason. I just wanted to see how deeply you love each other. I only have lust, I've never had love. That's why I'm all for exploring the desires brought on by love. That's my source of happiness." Tang Wulin's gaze grew cold. He wanted to say something, but he listened to Old Demon Lust first. "Actually, I guessed long ago that the most troublesome one to deal with among the 7 of you must be you, because you're not easy to fool and the person you love isn't here with you. Alas, you fell for it all the same. But I can see that your love runs deep. That's why you were fooled. Do you want to see how the others are faring?" Tang Wulin was slightly stunned. Old Demon Lust did not wait for Tang Wulin's answer as she waved her right hand in the air. A shadow flashed past and 6 lighted screens appeared before them. Naturally, these 6 lighted screens displayed the other 6 members of the Shrek 7 monsters. The lighted screens revealed similar interiors. They all looked similar to the one Tang Wulin was currently in. In the first cavern, it was Xie, to Tang Wulin's surprise. There was also a translucent Yuan and Yehui. Without a doubt, it was an illusion. Xie was already embracing Yuan and Yehui. However, to Tang Wulin's surprise, he did not make any advances. Xie panted softly as if he was suppressing something within him. Yuan and Yehui's hands wandered all over his back. Her petite frame seemed almost wedged between his body. Xie's breathing was clearly rushed, but his movements were slightly stiff. Didn't you say that you'll only be intimate with me after we're married?" Xie said as he panted. The fake Yuan and Yehui said in her charming and sweet voice, "On Demon Island, we're always in imminent danger of death. I'm scared that it'll come true. I want you to be my first love. At least, I won't have any regrets. Xie, love me." Xie's body shook. Instinctively, his hand grabbed Yuan and Yehui's buttocks. However, just before Xie's hand touched Yuan and Yehui's buttocks, his hand suddenly froze in midair. Shortly after, he shouted furiously, "You can go King die." He flipped his wrist and the light dragon dagger appeared in his grip. From the small of her back, he stabbed into the fake Yuan and Yehue's body. When he saw this scene, Tang Wulin could not help staring with his mouth agape. Since when did Xie Xie's willpower become this strong? As far as he could remember, Xie Xie had always been a person who had no self-restraint. Also, it was impossible for him to have an object like a silver dragon scale on his body to remind himself. He had resisted the attack of the illusion by relying on his own willpower. He was not the only one. Old Demon Lust beside him was also shocked. She too stared at the scene with her mouth agape. What was happening? The fake Yuan and Yehue transformed into a flurry of bubbles and vanished. Then, Tang Wulin saw Xie Xie mumbling to himself with tears streaking down his face. How I wish that this was real. With Yuan's temper, there's no way that she'll give herself to me just because we're in a dire situation. She's a person with strong principles. I seldom hold her hands for that matter. I love to do it, but how can it be possible? How I wish it was true. Tang Wulin was speechless. It was not the strength of Xie Xie's resolve, but rather it was Yuan and Yehue's personality. Perhaps it was also Xie Xie's understanding of Yuan and Yehue and a tinge of some hidden fear in the depths of his heart. After all, Xie Xie had unintentionally chanced upon a bathing Yuan twice. Needless to say, he was clobbered after that. That must have left some deep scars within him. Almost instinctively, Tang Wulin shifted his attention toward the screen that displayed Yuan and Yehue. Whop! Yuan and Yehue sneered as she sent the fake Xie Xie flying. What the fake Xie Xie told her was similar to what the fake Yuan and Yehue had said. However, Yuan and Yehue being her domineering self. Her beautiful face blushed from embarrassment, but she still sent the fake Xie Xie flying with a slap. How could you hit me that hard? It hurts a lot, you know. Xie Xie dragged himself up from the ground, his expression filled with sadness. Yuan and Yehue snorted, it hurts? I can make you hurt even more. You're not him. He doesn't have the courage to ask this of me. You're a fake. When he saw this scene, Tang Wulin remained quiet. Was Xie Xie a henpecked husband for Yuan and Yehue to have such confidence? It was not obvious at normal times, but now it seemed as though Xie Xie was being dominated by Yuan and Yehue. He was watching old Demon Lust torturing his comrades, but for some reason, after witnessing the scenes of Yuan and Yehue and Xie Xie, Tang Wulin had the urge to laugh. The next screen displayed the cavern which Xu Lixi was in. No, Sister Xinglan, no. You divine in my heart. I'm just not ready yet. Sister Xinglan, don't do this, I'm not used to this. In my heart, you're not like this at all. Don't touch me. Xu Lixi was trembling like a little white pig. He was curled up in a corner while the fake Yi Xinglan squatted down beside him. She seemed uncertain as to how she should approach him. When Tang Wulin saw this, the edge of his lips could not help twitching. It was because Xu Lixi was rather unsightly at present. Not to mention his obese curled-up body in the nude, he was covering his private parts with his hands. His head was lowered as he dared not look at the fake Yi Xinglan with her lecherous gaze. Lixi, what are you doing? You realize the situation we're in. I'm really afraid that an accident will happen. Since we're together now, I want to give you my most precious thing. I know that you've liked me all these years. What are you afraid of now? Xu Lixi panted heavily, but his body was still curled up in a ball. Sister Xinglan, I can't. I can't do this while you're vulnerable. Sister Xinglan, can you not force me? I'm not prepared, you know. I've always had this dream in my heart. I dreamed that one day, I'll marry you in a respectable and proper manner befitting you. Our bridal chamber will be decorated in red. You'll be wearing your wedding dress as you sit on the bed, and I'll be by your side. I truly love you, that's why I can't violate you. The relationship between a man and a woman is sacred. I can only fulfill this wonderful ritual in my life with you under the auspices of our sacred customs. Tang Wulin stared at the little plump man on the screen with his mouth agape. He never took him as an idealist. The fake Yi Xinglan snorted. We don't even know if we can leave this place alive. Why do you have to consider all the other things? Can't you do it? Xu Lixi raised his head abruptly. His gaze suddenly sharpened. You're not Sister Xinglan. Sister Xinglan has protected me since I was little. She'd never say such words that hurt my self-esteem. You're not her. As he said this, he had already leaped to his feet. However, he did not make his move immediately. When he saw the fake naked Yi Xinglan before him, he was slightly stunned. He said, "Does Sister Xinglan look like this when she's nude?" Then, he gulped before he gave the fake Yi Xinglan a slap. Tang Wulin stole a glance at Old Demon Lust beside him. Old Demon Lust's current expression was not pretty. Tang Wulin instinctively looked in another direction. He looked at the screen which Yi Xinglan was on. Just as he had expected, Yi Xinglan's willpower was definitely the strongest. Also, she was truly familiar with Xu Lixi as well. She stabbed through the fake Xu Lixi's chest with her sword. Yi Xinglan said coldly, "Xu Lixi's such a coward, how will he dare do such a thing to me? Besides, his heart is pure, he'll never think about having sex with me just because we can't leave this place alive." She was the fifth person. 5 people had broken free of her control. Old Demon Lust's willow-shaped eyebrows rose with her hands akimbo. Her expression was furious. Tang Wulin instinctively looked at the screen which Xu Xiaoyan was on. Xu Xiaoyan seemed to have lost herself completely in ecstasy. She was resting in the fake Yu Zhengyu's embrace. The fake Yu Zhengyu said gently, "Xiaoyan, I love you. Although I'm not sure I can take you out of this place alive, I'm willing to give you my everything, and I'm not some playboy. Will you be my first girl?" Xu Xiaoyan's beautiful frame shivered slightly. "I will, but I'm slightly scared. I'm not prepared for this just yet. Zhengyu, can you give me more time?" The fake Yu Zhengyu said softly, "Why do you need more time? What do you want to think about? I'm willing to sacrifice everything for you. I've even used my natural talent sacrifice for you. Aren't these enough to prove my love for you? I'm even willing to lay down my life for you. Xiaoyan, I love you." As he said this, the fake Yu Jingyu lowered his head and kissed Xu Xiaoyan's lips. Suddenly, Xu Xiaoyan's eyes turned cold. Starlight flashed on her body and the fake Yu Jingyu could not move. "You're not Yu Jingyu. Jingyu would never persuade me by showing kindness. Who are you?" Xu Xiaoyan said angrily. The fake Yu Jingyu was about to speak when Xu Xiaoyan slapped him on the face. Then, his body turned into bubbles and vanished. Tang Wulin looked at Old Demon Lust beside him with a slightly peculiar gaze. "You failed, because you don't know us well enough." Old Demon Lust's breathing was slightly rushed. "No, it's not that I don't know all of you well enough, it's my heart that's at a loss. I was influenced by some of you before this and was flustered toward the end. Damn me. How could I let my emotions be affected by you lot? Fortunately, there's still one successful case." When she uttered her final sentence, she suddenly smiled. Her smile was seductive, but Tang Wulin's heart grew cold. In the final screen, Yu Jingyu was already on top of the fake Xu Xiaoyan. The scene started to blur. Tang Wulin could not see the actions clearly, but he could faintly hear the sounds. Jingyu. There were 7 of them. 6 did not fall to the temptation of lust. This was undoubtedly a surprising result. Even if only one of them fell into the clutches of lust, Tang Wulin would still be troubled. Old Demon Lust looked at Tang Wulin with a triumphant expression. "Aren't you dying to know what the consequences are of falling to the temptation of lust?" Tang Wulin's chest tightened and he said furiously, "What do you want to do?" Old Demon Lust snickered. "Wait and see." After a long while, Yu Jingyu let out a groan of satisfaction. "Xiaoyan, I love you. Don't worry, I'll take responsibility for you. Wherever you are, I'll be there for you. Are you really willing to take responsibility for me?" The scene cleared up again. Yu Jingyu and Xu Xiaoyan already had their clothes on. When Xu Xiaoyan said these words, her voice began to change from a melodious tone to a hoarse one. It was as displeasing as hearing the call of the crows. Yu Jingyu saw with shock that the fake Xu Xiaoyan before him became illusory. She gradually transformed into an old woman akin to a dying candle in the wind. The old woman cackled in a peculiar way. The youth's body is always nice. Be enamored with the secular world and your desires will be boundless. Hello there, I'm old demon lust, do you still love me? Yu Jingyu stared at the old woman in front of him with his mouth agape. His face flushed green, then red. Suddenly, he screamed and spat out a mouthful of fresh blood, and dropped to the ground, unconscious. Snap! Old demon lust beside Tang Wulin snapped her fingers loudly. That's more like it. That's what I want. Tang Wulin said angrily, you. Old demon lust turned around and looked at him with a smile. Desires are boundless. It's not bad to have desires. We only need to keep them in check. We must also maintain a sliver of mindfulness when we unleash our desires. If a man can't even control himself, then he has no one to blame for being tricked. You're fortunate. Otherwise, you'd have ended up like him. After she finished, a pink light flashed. In the next instant, old demon lust and the 6 lighted screens in front of Tang Wulin vanished. Old demon lust, this was the 5th old demon. Jingyu, he. When he thought about Yu Jingyu's situation, Tang Wulin felt bouts of chill creep into his heart. Yu Jingyu did not know that his sexual encounter was only an illusion. The appearance of the old woman was just old demon lust. It was truly a heavy blow for Jingyu. If it were him, he reckoned that he would not have been much better off. Could he say that Yu Jingyu's willpower was not strong? Tang Wulin felt that he could not because he was not able to control himself either. He could only say that Yu Jingyu loved without a care in the world. On the other hand, Yi Xinglan, Xu Lishi, Yuan Yehui, and Xie Xie were able to overcome this problem. It was mainly because their relationships were unique. Xu Xiaoyan had luck on her side. Old demon lust was not in a good mood, so she did not control the conversation between the fake Yu Jingyu and Xiaoyan. That was how Xiaoyan discovered her weak spot. However, Yu Jingyu was unfortunate. It was a heavy blow. He was unsure how he would face the situation after this. If it was Tang Wulin himself, he reckoned that it would be difficult for him to get over this. This was truly a test of their enchantment with the secular world. Jingyu, you must endure this. Without a doubt, old demon lust would probably not let him meet Yu Jingyu. Consequently, he would not be able to tell Yu Jingyu the truth of the matter. He was only fantasizing about Xu Xiaoyan. He did not commit the actual act with her. However, everything that occurred just now was apparently authentic. Tang Wulin still remembered clearly that it was painful when he pinched himself on the thigh. The silhouettes in his surroundings morphed and everything around him became distorted. Tang Wulin returned to the spot at which he arrived when he first came to the valley. He looked around him. There was no one else. He was alone. At this moment, thumping sounds were heard as if a giant beast was coming toward him. Young man, you've passed, a solid voice echoed within Tang Wulin's ears. Shortly after, out came a huge old man from the forest. He could only be described as huge. This old man was more than 3 meters in height, and his body was large and firm. Although his skin was wrinkled due to his advanced age, he still appeared younger than those few old demons before him. Naturally, the group of old demons did not include the young version of old demon lust. He passed? This video will end here. Like video and subscribe to my channel.